India's longest running show on startups and entrepreneurship turns 22, and we're back with a brand new season of Young Turks, Voices from the Valley. We're here in the global startup capital to get a measure of what AI can and cannot do for enterprises. Are we in the peak of inflated expectations, or, as Gartner says, heading into a trough of disillusionment? In this episode from Palo Alto, we bring you a SaaS symphony with 3 experienced operators working closely in enabling enterprises adopt AI. Let's begin with the youngest of the lot. Nishant Modak co-founded Last9 to enable firefighters to take on events in the digital world. Site reliability engineer. Think streaming crashes while watching the IPL. Last9 is solving the problem with AI. Next up is Rohit Choudhary, a data engineer himself. He started Acceldata after repeatedly witnessing his customers' multi-million-dollar data initiatives fail. Founded in 2018, Acceldata is enabling PhonePe, Hershey's, Oracle and other enterprises get better data observability. Think of a spy who can be used to catch incomplete or incorrect data in an AI modeling training data sets. That's Acceldata. Coming to the most experienced of the trio, Vineet Jain founded Egnyte nearly 2 decades ago in 2007 to help enterprises leverage their most valuable knowledge asset, digital information. In fact, the company is now ripe for an IPO. Steve Madden, Red Bull, Yamaha and BuzzFeed are among more than 22,000 enterprises who are using Egnyte's Gen AI-enabled SaaS platform to manage, protect and govern their content. Hello and welcome to the 10th edition of Voices from the Valley. I'm Shereen Bhan, and joining me on the program today are 3 founders here who are working out of the Valley, different vintages. Vineet, quite the veteran of the Valley, has been here for 30 plus years. And of course, Rohit from Acceldata started the company in 2018, and Nishant started his company in 2020. Gentlemen, many thanks for joining us here on the program. So Vineet, let's get started with you. You've seen many cycles play themselves out. At Egnyte, you've seen 3 AI cycles starting 2013 to now where we are today. What's different this time around?
I think the hype cycle as it's the highest crescendo for sure. But I think the value proposition of what you've been hearing about, and generative AI in particular has popularized the word AI, and they have become conflated. But it's here to stay. And once the hype cycle subsides, what it delivers from a knowledge worker perspective, at least from an enterprise buyer mindset, which is what we do, it's substantial. And it'll play out over lots of years. It won't be some of the fads in the past like IoT or crypto, not that any of them has gone away, but they kind of subsumed and went into oblivion to some extent. This thing is here. It's got long legs.
It's got long legs. So let's go back in time to when you started the company 16 years ago and where you find yourself today. How has Egnyte changed, and how are you changing yourself now to be ready for this generative AI era?
You know, if I hark back to almost 8 or 9 years back, because we live in the world of unstructured content or data, we are awash with data. We had been doing things related to AI, particularly machine learning models manifested in product capabilities like ransomware detection, which is not just signature-based, but behavior-based, anomalous user behavior detection, data lifecycle management, and a bunch of other things. But what generative AI has done, and we are still all discovering its power and its capability, is at the most basic level, it's made the information or knowledge discovery, augmented search really easy using NLP or natural language processing. And now derivatives of how it could be used to do, besides the mundane task of write me a letter or summarize a document, it can actually trigger very powerful workflows, which we are just on the cusp of discovering, which is where I think the biggest bang for the buck is going to be realized. So as I said before, it's real, it's substantial, but in terms of its value attribution from what people are willing to pay from an enterprise buyer mindset, it's still early.
Still early days. Rohit, let's talk about what you're doing at Acceldata now, and explain to me data observability, and what you do for enterprise customers and what you hope that this is going to lead to in terms of where the company could be.
Yeah, I think, great points by Vineet. What we do is essentially allow enterprises to manage their data at scale. And if you just look at the last decade, I think the total volume of data has run into exabytes. Most of our customers have 100 petabytes or more. And the reason that so much data has been collected is because the last decade or 15 years of digitization, that has actually come into being. Data is getting produced at different places. That is getting married to external data sources. Market data, which comes together for businesses to make decisions. Now that is a very complex processing pipeline, and we enable enterprises to manage and get visibility into that pipeline so that they're getting high quality of outputs, not just high quality of inputs from a data perspective. You could think of us as the next generation of Datadog or AppDynamics, which did a fantastic job for monitoring IT applications. We are doing the same for data applications. Now, in the context of AI, like I was saying 5 minutes back as well, that if you put garbage in, you're going to get disasters out. You're not going to get garbage out anymore. I think AI is extremely powerful, and particularly in our space, the way I look at it is that this is a moment where a lot of displacement will happen. A lot of traditional companies who will not keep up will find it very difficult to compete in an AI-first world. So for us, the huge advantage or the opportunity in front of us is to become the modern next-generation data management company, and that's what we are aiming to. Where the enterprise is right now focused on, and is super exciting times, is that they're using the large language models to do simple things right now, which is augmented search, internal enterprise-wide search, and potentially some of the external searches as well. But I think the next wave is also about finding those workflow-specific small language models, which will be super effective, particularly when it comes at a lower cost and a lower memory footprint. So I think the times are really exciting. This is almost, according to me, the moment of the internet.
The moment of the internet, and that is what presents itself today, Nishant. Let's use that cricketing analogy to talk about what you've been actually able to do as far as Last9 is concerned.
Yeah.
One of your investors said that you bring peace to a cricket war room. Essentially, that's what Last9 does. And of course, that would apply to many other war rooms that deploy what you put out there in the marketplace. Explain to us what you've been able to capture, what you've been able to leverage on.
Yeah, so I think an interesting analogy that I like to talk about is of a self-driving car, where essentially I think the earliest forms of automation was probably at best an adaptive cruise control. But if you look at full self-driving, it's gone through technically from 4 different phases, right? There's hands off, legs off, eyes off, and off the seat. You still need to be able to sort of pair with the car in a way to be able to sort of control and maneuver it in some form. What we've done using that as an analogy is process large amounts of data for operational workloads and really build an operational intelligence platform that allows you to look at terabytes of data in real time and make sense of it in a way that's almost predictive to a certain degree. And which is where the name Last9 also comes from, because it's probably not going to be a 10 on 10, but pushing that boundary of what nines you can achieve by being operationally intelligent and sort of being able to deliver that value to a lot of enterprise customers. And cricket is a great example of that, right?
Yeah, because you did that for the IPL.
We do that for the IPL, for the entire cricketing setup in the world, where we power their operational workloads through the intelligent platform by delivering real-time insights. For a 90-minute IPL or a 3-hour IPL match, you need literally seconds to be able to respond to something in a way that's impactful, to be able to detect what's going wrong and be able to respond to that and almost avert the situation. So what we're delivering with the technology is actually delivering on-the-ground impact by not just doing this intelligence, but delivering it in real time for some of these insights. As decisions keep getting faster, I think the feedback loop cycle has been too delayed for long. We're bridging that gap to deliver a lot of this value today.
So on the back of what you've been able to do and the product that you've been able to put out and the service that you offer, what has happened as far as latency is concerned, for instance? I mean, how much better has it gotten?
The fact that typically, in this case, whether you call it war rooms classically, we want more peacetime than more wartime is how I put it.
Don't we all?
And in that case, typically for engineering productivity and just software engineers everywhere, wartime is not a great fun. At the same time, being able to detect issues 30, 60 minutes down the line when they've already happened and customers impacted is too late. We do that literally in minutes, if not seconds. And that's been a massive game changer for how customers are actually able to leverage this and actually improve their customer satisfaction in the end by delivering a more reliable service, which is not cranky enough.
Yeah, but Vineet, talking about the value proposition to the customer with what you're hoping to do, what is the addressable market looking like at this point in time, given the competitive landscape, but also looking at the opportunities? I mean, who would you look at this point in time as a potential customer?
So for our company in particular, there has been a maniacal focus on what we call as the mid-market. And just to get the semantics right, we base it on a number of employees. So our sweet spot from a go-to-market perspective is employee headcount from 100 to 7,500. And we don't chase the big blue whales or big elephants, which is the Fortune 5,000, pick your animal of choice. Not because it's not an attractive market. We all love high six-figure deals or seven-figure deals. But the cost of sales and the lumpiness of the sales cycle, it's not worth it. And especially when you look at, to answer your question very specifically, the TAM in the mid-market, just looking at North America, which is a big theater for us besides Europe, it's almost like a bottoms-up, tops-down approach. It's around a $45 billion market opportunity. So even if you get a tiny sliver of that, you can make a substantial business. And then when you start looking outside North America, it's a pretty large market opportunity. But it is the mid-market, the way I define it.
The mid-market for you, Rohit, how are you looking
Large
at
enterprises.
the addressable?
Large enterprises, exactly going after, the animals of choice, whatever you want to name them.
Which animal are you going after?
So we're going for the blue whales, the really big ones, large enterprises who, typically they spend over $1 billion on their data and their infrastructure. We typically work with the CIOs and the CDOs. And guess what's happened in the last 5 to 6 years? Data has almost quadrupled in almost an average enterprise, and in the leading data enterprise, it's about 10 times bigger than what it used to be in 2014. And it's expected to be 2 or 3 times bigger in the next 2 years. So you can only anticipate the amount of dollars that will be spent in these markets, and we're very well positioned to capture a large part of that market, obviously because we had an early movers advantage and we have already built a lot of platform and the technology that was required. The one difference that shocked us from a TAM perspective was the geography. What we encountered in 2018 and 2019 was the fact that telcos were going 5G in Southeast Asia first.
Yeah.
It happened before the transformation started happening in the US. So the amount of data that they were generating was way more. So the way that we look at our business is that what's the amount of data, what's the quantum of processing, what's the value that the enterprise is able to generate out of the data that they collect. And today large enterprises are using it for everything, for operational stuff, for advertising, marketing, understanding customer behavior, upselling, cross-selling their products. So everything, in your business as well, all the stocks that you trade, everything is coming out of large amounts of data.
Yeah, except we don't get to trade any of those stocks. But Nishant, the monetizable market for you and how you're looking at it.
Yeah, so we're looking at born on the cloud is what I like to call it, essentially mid-market and enterprises, but essentially who have already adopted cloud in a wide variety and are running into challenges of actually being able to now process so much of data and deliver insights in a real time. So that's where our focus has been. North America remains our biggest bet, and which is where we continue to grow rapidly at this point in time.
Vineet, let's talk about the milestones as far as Egnyte is concerned, and many have already been accomplished. A possible listing anytime in the future, or you've raised more than 100 million in funds. You're cash flow positive already. I mean, what is it that you're chasing after now?
So, I have very specific PR instructions on what I can speak about and what I can't. So, I would just leave it at that. But at this stage, if you were to ask me what's the next milestone, I can define it in 2 terms. One is revenue or ARR driven, and the other is from a solution footprint perspective. So when we started the company, the fundamental idea was to take a physical file server and move that into a multi-tenanted hosted architecture. And if you look into the Wayback Machine and look at our website, it's an on-demand file server. Within 6 months, we realized this is what people are calling the cloud. So that was the change we made, but that was the underpinning. And over time, because we are awash with unstructured content, that's our raison d'etre, we added capabilities in terms of data security, data governance. Compliance is just a derivative. So imagine a 2-layer sandwich, to be overly simplistic. The bottom layer be content collab, the second layer be content security governance. You mush it together into a platform and you sell. And what we're finding is, despite a lot of us here being in the world of tech, we think everyone's moved to the cloud. The reality is still there's a lot of on-prem. People are still journeying to the cloud. The levels of maturity are different. The security constructs that they are dealing with are different, whether they're regulated, unregulated. Everyone's dealing with all kind of compliances. So if you ask me in a very different way, I've been at it for 16 years, but I know HR doesn't like when I say it. I hate 3-day weekends. We wasted one day. When there's a long weekend, like a Monday or something, there's so much to be done here. And the joy of building something and keep watching it grow. So we are around 22,000 customers. We have, I think now 1,300 employees. All those are nice metrics, but the fact that you have been given this opportunity to create value and impact so many people's lives in hopefully a positive way, you can't take that lightly. And I think that's a blessing. Never to think that I did this. There's always a stroke of luck, in my opinion.
I would imagine that plays a part as well. But those are the metrics that the market will look at, and those are the metrics that competition will look at as well. So, what are the metrics that you're focused on at this point in time, and what do you hope to deliver over the next few years?
Look, I mean, we are still in a very early category formation period, and so for us, the core focus is making sure that the product is as robust as it can ever be, and that this will fuel the next 10 years of growth. Because unlike many other sales-driven motions where you once you figured out the product, then you can just pour gas on that fire and make it blaze. I think this is still an early category, and so our focus is just like many other infrastructure companies have done it before us, like a Snowflake, like a Databricks, is perfect the product, and then plan to dominate. Because if you have the best product, eventually the best ideas start winning, and I think we are on that path. From a near-term perspective, obviously getting close to $100 million in ARR, that's like the first goal, as it should be for all SaaS companies. But we are also aware that 100 is just a milestone, and there's like so much more to do after that. We've been selling commercially for 5 years now, and I think in the next 5 years we'll definitely continue to sort of double every year. And that's not just because Acceldata is a great company. It's also because the market's shaping up that way. That there's so much demand for managing data in the most appropriate way, which actually serves their analytics, AI, and machine learning needs, that we just have to serve the market.
And is it largely going to be driven by organic growth, or are you looking at inorganic opportunities as well?
So we haven't, we did an inorganic acquisition
Bugle.
last year, for Bugle, ex-Googlers, amazing founders, great team. And I think we will continue to do both for tech and talent and some revenue in adjacent spaces.
What about you, Nishant? Next milestone that you've set for yourself?
Yeah, still early compared to where these guys are, and sort of pushing ahead on our solidifying the product and actually growing in the US. That's the key focus. We're hoping to continue doubling as we have for a long time this year as well, before we sort of double down in the North America's market and sort of grow from there. But product remains a key focus at the same time, given especially the rapid changes in the technology cycle, especially AI, as we were speaking earlier. Demands around that concept. The bar is being set rapidly. We want to be able to set the bar in a way that sort of showcases what is possible of this next wave of tooling that emerges from this wave.
You've all spoken about the opportunities, but let's also talk about the opportunities in the context of India. And as you pointed out, that the commercial side of the market is still nascent and it's building itself out. The talent side of the market is a well-known story, and that is what most companies are building on. How do you see India, and what is the role and relevance of India for Egnyte for now and for the future?
I'm a very proud Indian despite being here for 30 years, because when I'm going back, the word comes out, I'm going home, even though I've been here for now so long. My opinion on India has shifted quite a bit, so it'll be interesting for you to hear. 4 co-founders, all 4 co-Indians. We did not have an R&D center in India for a long time. We actually started with Mountain View, which is our headquarters.
Yeah.
Then we went into Poland, and we have around 300 people there. India I started in February 2021. And I'll tell you, and this may not be politically correct, but one of the things that used to bug the heck out of me about Indians was, IQ-wise, we were all pretty good, focus on education. That subservience to the white master, that colonial hangover, the age-based hierarchical approach in the organization structure, that used to get my goat. That has been deconstructed, especially in tech. We started in India in February 2021, hiring people, and we have almost like 300 odd people, all remote only, remote first. And what I find is the level of self-assurance, the level of confidence, we have arrived, we have a place in the world. In the Indian mindset, it makes me proud. And that's why, I mean, as I say, I'm a big Indophile. And my wife and I joke, I said, like, I'm also an equal opportunity abuser. I'll make fun of America and India because I live in both the places. And I think of both the places in positive ways as well. But India is a critical part of our journey. At this point, India R&D center is never a back office function. It's never taking mature products and incrementally improve it. It is doing core development. And some of our AI stuff, which I myself, I'm blown away by what our teams are introducing, is being done in India. And it's complementing Poland, India, and then here, headquarters, we have around 50, 60 people here.
Rohit, India and its relevance and role for you?
Oh my God. I mean, my view is completely opposite. You know, we have 100% engineering in India. We started in India and we had like tremendous capability in the engineering talent pool over there. And I think it's also generational because I work very closely with, I would say the first generation of the internet founders like Naveen and, that founding team at Inmobi. But there were like parallel companies getting built, and if you look at, one of the fastest growing companies in the world, it happens to be in India. It's called PhonePe. Guess what? It'll end up processing $1.5 to $2 trillion this year. And when you meet those founders and you see their hunger and you see the way that they are building their businesses, their company and their teams is just fascinating. Sachin Bansal is not sitting at home after one exit.
Yeah.
He's on to his next one.
Yeah.
So I think, absolutely the workforce over there is self-assured, extremely educated, and it's a factor of a few things. Exposure to, large MNCs and product-first MNCs as opposed to services-first MNCs. Second is, the availability of, unlimited infrastructure through the cloud and the open source communities that existed. And I benefited from that personally because I was at Hortonworks in my previous role. And a combination of these three things has made the engineering community extremely smart. It is not so much of a cost advantage anymore if you're going for the best engineer, because the best engineer in the Bay Area will almost be the same that you pay in India. So it's not so much of a cost basis, but it's just the density of the engineering talent. And if you're starting a company today, I would highly recommend go start, tapping into that talent pool. We've not missed or skipped a beat just because our engineering team was in India. That's one. The second thing is customer success. Customers are used to getting served by a high quality engineering team. And we have the availability and the abundance of engineers who've done it for like 20 some years, who can serve global customers and meet them on their GTM expectations. So it's a great place to be.
Nishant, what about you?
Absolutely. I think I agree with what Rohit was saying. We started in India. In fact, one of the reasons we think we continue to succeed in the US is the fact that we were able to build on the back of massive scale companies in India as early customers, where that has not been seen again, where we were able to showcase what we did at IPL scale and everywhere else. And that is just an amazing success story, having built it locally in India and now going globally, including me, which is why I moved to be able to take that technology we built now to the world. So absolutely still continue to be, we have a team there, continue to be bullish, we built it there, and we still have customers and continuing to grow there. So that still remains a big focus area, and couldn't be more proud. Maybe to what Vineet was saying, I'm probably part of the generation you were talking about. We grew up in the last 10,
that's why
15
I said
years.
I'm a big Indophile.
So-
I was referring to what it used to be. That colonial hangover. Like I grew up in New
Absolutely.
Delhi. I go to a store in Connaught Place and I speak in English versus I speak in Hindi. The reaction I used to get was like, come on, man, I'm speaking our own language. That has changed, especially in the tech. And that's why I said I'm so proud. And we've been hiring people and we are saying you can work from wherever you are. So we have clusters like in Bangalore, in Mumbai, but there are people in like 2 in Jammu, 1 in Nagpur, 1 in Sikkim, he actually moved.
Likewise,
And I love the fact that we can keep building this team in India and the passion they bring to the table is fantastic. But 10 years back, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I think similarly with a remote team everywhere, and in addition having greater skills as well, not just engineering anymore, but actually product design, evangelism, and sort of marketing. I think we have some of the best talent there still, and with the right mentorship from the Valley experience, I think it will only grow bigger and faster. But also requires local companies, hopefully like all of us, that build there and have a huge talent pool that will create the next wave of talent to build.
I would argue that the next generation, which is 10 years younger than us, they are even more intrepid. They don't care about
Absolutely.
Which company exists where in what space. They are willing to, they're taking the game to the home. I think they're doing a really good job.
Thank you very much for your time here and appreciate you joining us on Voices from the Valley. Thanks very much indeed. We are going to take a break here on Voices from the Valley, but we will return with more conversations. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment. Stay tuned.